priority number one for the Yankees is obvious. It's got to be re-sign DJ LeMahieu. This is a guy who was in the MVP conversation, meant everything to the Yankees over the last couple of years, the 2 years that he was in there. He was a bargain and a half for the Yanks over these first 2 seasons. He won't be anymore. He's going to command a massive payday. But the Yankees are really going to have to, in my estimation, give him a blank check, because this guy, with his versatility and what he does for them at the top of the lineup, the ability to play second, to play first, to play third, wherever they need him, this is a guy that the Yankees need to get back if they want to make a run at things in 2021.
Yeah, I definitely I think you already heard, if I'm not mistaken, DJ said he'd be willing, he didn't say it officially, but it's the rumor is that he'd be willing to take less money to come to the Yankees. I think that's got to be a priority. And some other things to think about. James Paxton, Tanaka, who do you resign either of them? Do you resign both of them? Both of them have injury problems. They're both 32. You got to put someone behind Garrett Cole. Also, Brett Gardner. I mean, do you bring him back again? I'd like to see, I'm not a Yankee fan, but I like to see Clint Frazier play every day in the outfielders, play more. I think he proved that he can do that. It's just some things that you got to consider.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough couple of decisions that the Yankees are going to have to make. And I think that they're going to try and bring back one of Paxton or Tanaka. And for my money, it's Tanaka right now, although he wasn't great in the postseason this year and at times struggled during the regular season. Again, a shortened season and everything kind of gets thrown off. But it really comes down to how confident are you that James Paxton is going to be healthy? Because when he had the back surgery coming into this season, he's throwing 92 miles an hour. Now, James Paxton, who throws 97, 98, is a guy that I want to keep around, and I think is a guy worth doing so. But 92, 93 James Paxton, with the struggle with command and location, is not somebody who is a guy you can pay a lot of money to. And now the Yankees may feel like they're in a position, based upon this season and the uncertainty, if they like what they see from him from a health perspective, could bring him back on a short-term, low-risk deal, and that's also available to them. I don't think the Yankees are going to go out and spend a ton and reinvent the wheel. I think they're pretty well content to run back most of what they have. I think for them, as odd as it sounds, it might be an addition in the bullpen, because that's where things really got off the rails for them last year, and they're going to have to find a way to see. We were talking about Edwin Diaz with the Mets. Adam Ottavino is going to have to find a pulse for the Yankees, because they are paying him too much money on that back end to not get any results. And Aroldis Chapman, I know, has gotten some criticism at times, but on the whole, he's been a really solid closer for them. Zach Britton struggled a little bit in 2020, but on the whole has been a really good reliever for them. And they've had some other good contributions from guys like Chad Green in that back end. Adam Ottavino's got to find it, and if not, they're going to have to bring in some help there. I like what they have in their lineup for the most part. I don't know that Brett Gardner comes back. A guy that really intrigues me, but you're going to have to figure out a spot for him, really, is Michael Brantley, who's going to be a free agent. And I don't know if he's going to command too much money, or if the commitment is not something the Yankees would be willing to make. But if you think about Giancarlo Stanton being pigeonholed into mostly playing the DH spot, although I believe he's going to start playing left field a little bit more, I think that was really about this year and making sure he was healthy. This guy is getting paid too much money to not play in the field. So I think you may see that going forward. I really like what I saw with Clint Frazier, but when you're talking about corner outfield spots, Judge is going to be in right. Frazier is sort of redundant. And as good as he was, he's another power hitter who strikes out a lot and has played better defense, but wasn't fantastic. And I don't know if they would consider platooning to save the money and the financials and how that outlook looks, with platooning one of Frazier and Tauchman, or Frazier and Gardner. They could bring him back because he wouldn't command a ton, but I think his time is done in New York. I would be really intrigued by the potential of bringing in a Michael Brantley on a short-term deal. It would be lucrative because he is a very good player, but you're talking about another left-handed bat in that lineup, a guy who hits for contact, puts the ball in play. The Yankees have a bunch of guys who can hit the ball out of the ballpark, have a ton of power, and strike out a lot. Michael Brantley at the top of that lineup is a guy who can move runners over, who can put the ball in play. I think would be a really welcome addition to this Yankees lineup, especially as a left-handed bat, and could add a different dimension into that lineup. So that, to me, would be a priority. I don't know if he's on their radar at all. Probably not. That seems like sort of a pipe dream. I think that when you rank sort of the priorities in the offseason. I think that Brantley is certainly not at the top. You want to fix that bullpen and maybe find a cost-effective replacement in the middle of that rotation as well. I think a lot of fans forget the Yankees will be getting Luis Severino back. I think that's a big deal as well. Garrett Cole at the top of that rotation, and Severino is a number 2. They can figure out the rest of it with David Garcia, who really came on towards the tail end of last year, Jordan Montgomery, and whatever they figure out with one of Tanaka, Paxton, or somebody else in that 3 role.